is Will Coates, Will Coates is an independent artist who creates work that is influenced by Tolkien and Lewis, among many other things that he creates work influenced by. And he is currently based in Cambridge in the UK, but he has spoken at Urbana Seminary's Tolkien conference in the past and at other conferences that he has been to. And he's also been one of the evening events for MythCon, the annual conference of the Mythopoeic Society. So Will is going to be talking about his art and how he does what he does with his Tolkien art. His presentation is titled Middle Earth Through the Eyes of an Artist. Ready, Will? You're going to need to turn on your audio.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Melody thinks I'm going to talk about art, but I can talk about anything now that I've got the floor. Huh? Okay. Here it is.
I'm still here too, Will, if I can help.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
I'm trying to share my screen.
Okay. So you
Okay, here it is. I've got it now.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Awesome. We're seeing it.
Okay. Can you see that now? All right. I wanted to say that I'm an artist who loves fantasy, and I also illustrate fantasy. I have a lot of things to say about it, and I'm going to try to do it in an orderly manner. I used Tolkien's essay on fairy stories to kind of act as a structure for this. But first, I wanted to tell a little story about when we first moved to England. We had an opportunity to travel down to the western corner of England in the Dartmoor area, which is the home of a couple of important fantasy artists, one of which is Alan Lee. I don't know if you know, but he won, he was presented with a Academy Award for his work on The Lord of the Rings. And he's well known for a lot of Tolkien art. Well, we were going down there to celebrate the birthday of one of Karen's friends and a mutual friend. And we didn't know what we were in for. This was our first outing driving in England, on the wrong side of the road and everything. And we drove down and stayed in a bed and breakfast overnight. And early in the morning, we got up and drove out to the moor. And it was beautiful, beautiful countryside. You can see this is a picture of some of the just things that we saw driving, and we didn't have anybody to act as a guide because none of us had been there before. So we were just bowled over by the natural beauty of the place, but it was also really strange because the roads were so narrow and it was so green and lush and beautiful. And of course, we just moved from Illinois, so that it was even more so for us. Here's we came up over the top of a hill, and there was this beautiful little hamlet down in the valley below us. And I was trying to find a place to stop so we could take a picture. This wasn't the best vantage point because you see there's another car in the way. But what we didn't realize was that there was a fox hunt going on. So we were kind of trying to wend our way through mounted people and cars and people wearing big, bright red coats. And so we finally got down to, this is the town of Widcombe on the Moor, you see down there. And I wanted to tell you a little story about that church that you can see from here. That it apparently back in, on Sunday morning, October 21st, 1638, they had an event that they described as being Satan came to collect one of their parishioners. According to local legend, it was a huge thunderstorm that knocked out a bunch of windows and tore out part of the roof, and also burned people with lightning. But the story goes that that the Satan came to collect a local card player named Jan Reynolds. The deal was that Jan Reynolds had made a pact with Satan that if he ever found him sleeping in church, that he could have his soul. Well, uh, that morning, Jan was said to have nodded off during the service with a pack of cards in his hand, and so the devil was on his way down, and he had to stop for directions at the Tavistock Inn in Plowsgate, where the barmaid said that he was all in black and had a jet black steed. And when he ordered ale, as he drank it, it hissed going down his throat. And he put the ale glass on the counter, and it left a scorch mark. And he left some coins there. And when she came back, they'd turned to dry leaves. Well, he went on to Whitcomb on the Moor, where he tied his steed to the top of that spire. And as he went down to get his quarry, the horse pulled away part of the roof of the thing, and it collapsed, and several people were wounded during that. That was in 1658, and they still have a plaque that was painted there on the side of the church. Well, we were there to meet some people for lunch. Here's more of the church, but this is the pub that we met our friends at. And what I didn't know was once we all got gathered there was a white-haired gentleman sitting a couple of people down from me, and he'd only been introduced to me as Alan. Well, I didn't realize it was Alan Lee, and I talked to him for a good 30 minutes before I realized that. And a couple of days later, we were at his house. I had an opportunity to see his studio that had been built, I guess, through the proceeds of the Lord of the Rings, because it was fabulous. I wish you guys have an opportunity to see it sometime. Joe said something about going to the Bodleian to research Tolkien's notes on Beowulf. And to me, this is kind of the same thing, because after all, for a visual artist, hanging out with somebody that won the Academy Award for his design work for the Lord of the Rings is about as good as going to the Bodleian and having a cup of tea with Tolkien. Anyway, so what I wanted to say is that Tolkien gave a lecture and developed this essay on fairy story, where he described himself as a sub-creator because he was creating after the creator. So I say that creation of the primary world that we live in is created, and we as humans are created as well, and we are created in the image of God, and so we are endowed with this quality of being creators ourselves, because we bear his image. And so as such, we create kind of almost reflexively, or that's our we have a penchant for creation. So Tolkien said that he uses the materials of the creator to create, and that makes him a sub-creator. And I think that since he is a sub-creator and created Middle Earth, then those of us who work in Middle Earth are sub-creators. That's my thought on that matter. So he says that imagination is the mental image making power, and we use art to bring that imagination into focus, and thereby creating these worlds that we do. We as sub-creators, we imagine things and we bring them about through the use of imagination and art. So this is my art that I'm kind of working in the Middle Earth, in the realm of Middle Earth, if you will, to bring about these things. I think they function similar to the way that Tolkien described fairy story, and that they if they do their job correctly, they will have the qualities of recovery, escape, and consolation. Now, recovery is how we living in this world, um, we have cobwebs in our thinking because we become too jaded or used to our world, and we sometimes are much more ready to grasp the shortcomings of the world rather than see the beauty of it. So in recovery, and I think I'm interpreting Tolkien in this, he says that recovering is regaining or acquiring a clarity of sight or the appreciation of our physical world and all that goes with it. It's making the familiar strange again and wiping of our intellectual and emotional spectacles so that we can again perceive wonder and beauty and significance in our primary world, I want to say. Recovery can save us from being imprisoned in the immanent frame of materialism and shutting us away from an understanding of our worth in the cosmos and out of touch with the transcendence. This is my interpretation of Luthien dancing. Anyway, so this is what I'm trying to say, that art, like fairy stories, or like good myth, will help us to understand and see ourselves as we really are, rather than be enticed by the blankness of materialism that just says what we are is just what we are, and you know, when we're done, it's all. To work in the Middle Earth, I sketch every day, and I draw pictures, and I try to sketch every day, and they're not always about Middle Earth, but frequently they are. I find that I go back there over and over again because it has an important attachment to me, because maybe it's that recovery or escape that I experienced at an important time in my development that keeps me coming back to it. But the escape is almost as important as recovery, because the escape is in a way we're rehearsing the recovery over and over again. And as we spend time in escape, and Tolkien said that escape has been sullied by trying to compare it to a soldier running away instead of somebody who's imprisoned seeking freedom, and that's the mode in which I'd like to apply it. We are seeking freedom from this from the nihilism that is pushed upon us by our modern world, at least from my point of view. Oh, here's an image I wanted to. So I don't look at a whole lot of Tolkien art myself. I just do it because I want to interface with the primary source. So I don't compare what I'm doing to other people's work, and I see that when I do look at what they do, I notice that they're more doing epic scenes, where I'm interested in seeing what things look like in an everyday. Maybe not every day, but so this would be a joyful time for a hobbit to hang out and party with his friends, maybe at the pub or whatever, around the party tree maybe. But here they're dancing and joyfully expressing themselves because they're, well, after all, they live in Middle Earth. Here's okay, on the right, this is a kind of a watercolor version of the Shire, just a simple pastoral scene. And on the left, this is the peak of Caladris when the snows drove the fellowship off the pass. Here's some more just pencil drawings, and I wanted to put these up here because this is part of our in the recovery and escape. I'm saying that for me, working in Middle Earth is, I'm considering it, I'm drawing it, I'm thinking about it and imagining it. It takes a lot of time, and I was talking to Matt earlier and about creating art, and I'm not always fixated on the final result. I'm a lot of the time is spent just being in this space, if you will. So I might be physically here, but in my mind, I'm wandering these mountains and sitting in a sitting room with the hobbits and talking to Gandalf and things like that. Okay, this also, I wanted to say that when we're talking about the recovery, there's a certain amount of distance between our world and Middle Earth, and so we, in order to appreciate the strangeness of Middle Earth and to see our world differently, I think that there has to be some difference. And so if you look at the movie, a lot of times you see the mountains in Middle Earth look just like the mountains in our Earth, but I think there is some difference because the mountains in Middle Earth are so much more compact. It seems like there's like in Jan Barrie's Neverland, there's not much distance between adventures, and I think that in this image I wanted to show a bank of fog that was taking over the mountains, and I don't know, just I think it to me it looks adventurous. Then this is a picture of mortal mountains, or mountains in our world, where they're just ridge upon ridge of misty mountains, no doubt. But this is the Blue Ridge, and you see how they look more spread out. I don't know. So that, I just want to say that that's one difference between fairyland and our mortal land. Here's some sketches of this is Gandalf and Legolas. They and these are just character things. Legolas has got a quiver of arrows and a bow, but he also has a sword here, and I'm not sure that was going to be a good characterization for Legolas. And then there's Gandalf is showing some leg. I was wondering how, well, now in Middle Earth you have joy and laughter, but I think, in On Fairy Story we're admonished not to make fun of the magic of Middle Earth, and I think we are taking it seriously. I have seen some where they're mocked a little bit, where the hobbits are some of the artwork where hobbits are not taken seriously, if you will. This is a one thing I think about too is how when they travel, they take luggage with them or their needs, but they don't. It's not as evident. So I'm in my drawings. I tried. If you look up here, there's these hobbits are wearing packs, and this is a picture of what might be in. Say this is what it might look like when they've taken a break. Here's a walking stick and a pipe and some food out here. So I just I have interest in how they're how the logistics are working anyway. Here was a concept for when Gandalf would visit Frodo during the years that Frodo was in Bag End by himself. And Frodo here is trying to give him the news of the Shire, and Gandalf is having a sip of tea. Here's the finished painting with Gandalf listening raptly as Frodo explains the news. And I tried to capture this peculiar light that you get from a fireplace when the room is lit only by the fire, when the shadows are really dark, and the atmosphere is so I don't know what
Quiet.
yeah, it's a good time for a story. It shuts the whole world out. All you see is the dancing light, and it seems like you can almost believe anything in a situation like that. This is an illustration of a root system for a tree, and so in this one I've put the quote of the story, or of Aragorn's. It's a rhyme that's associated with Aragorn. All that is glittered, all that is gold does not glitter. Can you see these big enough? I hope you can. There's a lot of detail in them. They're pretty good sized. This is this doesn't actually illustrate any particular scene in the Lord of the Rings, but to me it's Middle Earth-esque, if you will, Tolkien-esque. So it's a craggy, steep stair that leads to almost like one where Shelob lives. Okay, this is here's a situation you don't find in the world today. Is where the storm giants were throwing rocks back and forth at each other, while Thorne and company tried to navigate underneath when they were crossing the Misty Mountains. Also, this one was done as a cover for Mythopoeia, the newsletter for the Mythopoeic Society. So, following along after the scene on the mountain, they interact with the goblins, and poor Bilbo finds himself in the cavern underneath the mountains, lost. That's what this image is supposed to help us to see. And I see illustration for the Lord of the Rings as it's me trying to see how it looks to me, and also to show it to other people, so that I can kind of, as the sub creator, help people to see things from my point of view anyway. And I know other illustrators show things differently, and I really believe there's room for all of it. I just want to everybody has their own way of looking at it, and also their own methods and style for showing it. This is one that was started as a pencil drawing and just developed as a digital artwork. I thought the characterization of Bilbo, it's unlike anything I've seen before. The ones that I noticed that Alan Lee does, he's kind of balding in those, and looks like a skinny grocer. But it's Tolkien-esque in that it's a green dragon, and that was what I wanted to do here was experiment with some some techniques for doing fantasy art. Because as far as the art is important, but you have to have ways of doing it. So it's like writers; they have specific structural ways of developing a story and to create mood and settings and to help people to come along with them in their story. Well, artists do too. In this particular one, we have a bunch of different shapes and colors that I'm trying to coordinate so that to convey a meaning or a feeling. This is another drawing of Bilbo. He looks different than the other one, obviously, but it's a character sketch, and I know Tolkien did a lot of editing and reworking and things. Well, in order to develop drawings and artwork, we have to kind of get an idea of what the characters look like. And also for me, I want to resist what the movie showed us, because that was a drawback to having a movie that people like, and it was actually excellently well done for what it was. You have to resist that, because they did such a good job designing it that they might foreclose all the different points of view that other people have that I think are important. So, and if you've ever looked at some of the old illustration for the Hobbit, some of it was just wild, and I guess it's because it came out in the '60s and '70s that it's just they had a strange idea of composition and color, but anyways, I like seeing that variety, and I want to contribute to the variety and instead of gravitate towards one vision. Anyways, here's the this is the Dimril Dale, or my interpretation of the Dimril Dale that Gimli was so interested in seeing. It kind of has a otherworldly look to it, and I think that's part of it. That I see Middle Earth as being beautiful in a different way, and looking at Tolkien's artwork kind of leads me in that direction too. He the way he drew things, it tends to make things look more compact, more close together, like as if some of his illustrations you can see all the different all the I want to say typographies and places where you could have adventures, if you will. Here's a couple views of the door at Bag End, and so this one has the one on your left has the shadow of a wizard across it, and then this one just has a couple of chairs sitting out there, but seen from a point of view of pretty high above it, so like a human point of view, if you will. This one actually is my most recent illustration of the Hobbit. Here, the Dory, I believe it's Dory, has to help Bilbo to get up into the tree to avoid being eaten by the wolves just after they've escaped from the goblins in the Misty Mountain. It's in the chapter From the Frying Pan into the Fire. And so this one is a way different technique than I'd used in any others. It was like a charcoal technique where you cover the whole page with charcoal, and then you kind of push and pull and darken some areas, lighten other areas, and just let the drawing emerge out of that. And it was a lot of fun, and it looks different from anything I've done before too, in that it has a kind of a I don't know, There's a stringy quality to it, if you will. That's how I think of it. Anyway, this is a well, it speaks for itself. This is Guahir. He he captured my imagination, and I think this is just a brilliant part of the story where the eagles rescue the dwarves and the hobbit from the tree in the teeth of the wolves and fly them up to their eyries in the high mountains. This is another vision of Guahir. This one I was done 4 or 5 years ago, and this one I've just done this summer. So it's a more recent view of it. Yeah, I like the way the colors work in this one. And I tried to say something about how it's being an eagle is peaceful and you have the blue around it, but it also, because he's Guahir, there's also the warlike quality where he's the master of the eagles and all he surveys, if you will. This is in the Lord of the Rings when they were traveling by boat. I did several drawings of travel on the river, and this is one of those. And the curves are supposed to imply a peaceful, a period of peace in between excitement. And then also the I don't know if you can see it, but you can see the shadow of the boat is on the riverbed here, and to kind of create a little depth and show that the boat is floating along the river. I think there's probably something meaningful could be said about
Oh, come on, I don't talk.
about that. Here's another one. This is same sort of thing. They're
Stop
launching.
it. Fucking no.
They're launching
No.
the boat.
No, I'm not going with you.
Sorry, that's Emily. She's not happy about things right now. So this is kind of an experimental piece on showing Gandalf flying along on Shadowfax. And I wanted to do something with standing stones because since we came to England, I found the standing stones to be fascinating. I'm not, I know they have a lot of significance for different people, but to me they're just mysterious and beautiful in that regard. This one, shout out to Laura. She this is Sam and Frodo, and it's while they're in the Emyn Mule, they're looking out over the fractured landscape, and it's a kind of a, I don't know, wistful, I suppose, look back. Describes my the way I think about the Lord of the Rings. I'm just kind of wistfully looking over their shoulders, if you will. This is also Frodo and Sam, and this is a beautiful scene where they're it's at the crossroads where they're being led by Gollum, and he leads them past this crossroads where the main roads came up from Osgiliath on the way to the Tower of the Moon, and they go past a statue of a king who's been desecrated, and the top of the head of the statue has been knocked off and replaced with a boulder like this. And they see the head framed in the last shadows of the dying sun, with a crown of white flowers on top. And I don't know why this is. There's a quote that goes along with this, and I'd forgotten to print it beforehand, but I think it's a beautiful quote. It's about how the darkness can't last forever. They can't conquer forever. Anyways, you all probably know it. You can look it up if you don't. So I wanted to say something about the eucatastrophe here. So the consolation, going back to Tolkien's essay on fairy story, he said there are three qualities to a good fairy story: recovery, escape, and consolation. And I find that illustrators don't often illustrate the consolation. It seems like illustrators are generally drawn to the darkness right before the turn, if you will. This is one of those places where there's a foreshadowing of the catastrophe, but it's not. They're in a very dangerous spot here, and this is the place where it could go bad. So what I said about consolation is it's the reward for having invested your imagination in the fairy story. The consolation is that joy of the happy ending. Tolkien calls this element eucatastrophe, a sudden joyous turn at the end of the story in which permanent death has been avoided and darkness gives way to brightness and does not deny the possibility of failure. I mean, they could fail, but in the eucatastrophe, you have a triumph against all odds, if you will. So there are little eucatastrophes along the way, and they all kind of build to that final one at the end of the at the end, after they've destroyed the ring. I'll talk more about that here in a little bit. Here we have Golem leading them up the stairs to enter into Mordor by the back way, if you will, or over a path that is not closely watched, or so they thought. And so I think that was I worked for the Forest Service when I was in school, and I remember being up on some of those really high rocky mountains in Colorado, and the way the wind would blow if you were stand up near a deep cliff, the wind was pushing up, and that's what I tried to show with this with Frodo's cloak flying up like that. That he was that there's more than just the rocks there. There's a lot of air moving, and there's an environment. This is what they find at the end, of course, Shelob's lair. And I've seen Shelob drawn in a lot of different ways, and I just wanted to try to do the show the emotional aspect of it's just a silhouette, and you know how readily recognizable a silhouette of a spider is. And that was my goal on this one. I don't know how well I achieved it, but it's I don't know. That's Shelob for you. So with this, I drew it in pencil, but then I wasn't satisfied with that, and I had to go back and forth doing different things. And this one, I developed these blocky shapes to break it up and to make the composition more chaotic, if you will, because I wanted not, but so there's the chaos of the random division of the space, but there's also this kind of a, I don't know if you call it, I call it hopeful. This part right here where it's the where you have the radial lines, and obviously that's meant to represent represent the light of from the file of Galadriel, but I the shapes are generally meant to just draw our attention and help us to realize that there is hope beyond what's going on here. And then I've skipped some spots, some steps, and I'd like to go back sometime and fill in, but here they are trying to cross that dreadful desert plain on their way to Mount Doom, and it's a really tough road, and they're so tired, and they're barely making it. That's what I tried to show here with their tatters of clothes, and they're helping each other along. This is I'm proud of both of these. I think both of them are very important to me. This one is even, I don't know, I really like this one because of and this is something that I found that happens to me, is that occasionally I'll get an idea that just comes out right away, and there's hardly any struggle to make it work. That's the way this one was for me. I realized that there's nothing's perfect in this world, and we've got to it's always going to be a trade-off between the best things that can make a design work. But this one I tried to this one I used this is Sam carrying Frodo, and I know that the anatomy probably isn't all that here, but I think it works. And I use the halos there. This is a device that I've used before, and I use fairly frequently in the Lord of the Rings, and I think it's working. I like it because it says something about who, about how I feel about the characters, and I'm trying to express myself with my art. So this is how I feel about them, and I think that I don't know if you noticed it, but I put that on Guahir as well. So he yeah, there he is. He's got a bit of a halo too. I don't know. It's people use it for religious art, and that's where obviously I got it. And I think that I don't think it's sacrilegious or anything. It's just a device of art, and it kind of helps to punctuate the key characters. I'd be interested in hearing what people thought about it. And I didn't use it here, obviously, but I could have. But it's just going for the grays here. And here's another view. This is the captains of the West. They're going to they're marshaling themselves for what they think could almost certainly be defeat and final defeat for the West if they fail. But they feel they have to do it now in order to to give Frodo and Sam a chance to make it. I designed this this flag here for this, and actually, yeah, this is they did the one for Rohan too, and so this is these are the Gondorians marching. Here's another view of that flag. I know it's a variation on the one that they designed for the movie, and I don't know where that one came from originally, but you see it pretty frequently being used. This is an impression of the cracks of doom. So this is the goal for the ring, and this is I don't know. The idea is to show the swirling. So the spiral is supposed to indicate power, and it's anyway. So this is the cracks of doom, the fire of Mount Doom. Okay, so we talked about the euchaotic movement, and I said that I didn't think that people drew it very often, and as far as the illustrations, they seem to avoid the ones that I've seen. I haven't done an exhaustive survey of it, but I think they avoid the eukaryotic because they're maybe it's too close. Maybe maybe it's too it's too it's a tender place, I suppose. Anyway, this was what I used for that because it, as far as imagery, this was like a return of the natural, the free, the unfettered, so I'm thinking of when Sam and Frodo passed out on the mountain after the ring had been destroyed, and they were despairing about ever seeing any of their friends again, and they thought this was the end, and they passed out, but was saved by Gandalf and the Eagles. And when they woke up, they they were in I guess a paradise, if you will. And so that was the euchaotic moment to me anyways. And I know I'll have to admit that I bawled like a baby when I was reading that. I don't know why. It's just a release. And so I don't have an image for that. I can see in my mind's eye the cots that they were on, the white linen, the lots of gently sloping, generally horizontal lines to indicate the peace and tranquility. But I couldn't. Nothing ever made me want to draw that. I don't know. But this to me answered in that regard. So this is the as far as I could get to the euchaotic moment. We skip over some more, and it's we're at the Grey Haven now, and Frodo was saying goodbye to his Hobbit friends, and to me this is also you know, a climactic moment where they're very emotional. You have to think of saying goodbye. I don't know. It's death, I guess, and we're moving beyond. We're leaving all the things that went before and all the people that we've known and loved and the things that we've been through together. And that to me strengthens it. And that's one thing about the story as the reader, you were there with them. You walked along with them. And when it was time to say goodbye, you were saying goodbye too. So that's what I wanted to express here. The love that they have for each other and that we have for them. Here's another view. You've probably all seen the Hildebrandt brothers illustration of the Grey Havens. Yeah, I couldn't do that one, but I was able to do, you know, to make it more shadowy. And I wanted to say something about how the stars, you know, the beautiful stars and the natural beauty of Middle Earth. And I don't know, it's just an important time. Anyways, that's my group of Tolkien images. I have more, but I think I've gone on long enough. Does anybody have any questions?
Hello. Okay, so thank you, Will, for sharing all of that. Kay, are you still here?
I am.
Okay, we are going to need to wrap you up, Will. I apologize, but we do need to take a break before the next